last week, in case it ends up on the deck. Right, okay, so the drawing, so last week I did a drawing demo, and there was this one, well, it looked a bit like that by the end of it, just sketching out the shapes of the flowers, and then the other demo that I will do is an acrylic demo, so that will be, I'll do that next week, and that will be something on, so I thought I'd use that image for the acrylics demo. That's the kind of one I've sketched out, but this will be a watercolour demo. I thought next week I might just talk a bit about prepping the boards as well, because somebody was asking about that in the morning group, so I thought that might be useful for everybody. So yeah, basically sketched that out so far. So with painting flowers, it's very much a wet and wet technique. So, okay. You come, yeah, just look down and get around. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, just try and work this on here. So I'll just have a go at this one here, and just going to really dampen the area that I want to paint. So just going to add some water in here. But the problem I had this morning was that it was also wet and it was just flooding everywhere. So just going to try and carefully follow that bit and go as well. Just getting. So this will be wet and wet technique. So hopefully this will a bit more time to adjust the paint a bit. So hopefully stay wet long enough. And then the next stage is either pink or yellow. I think I'll try the yellow first. So the centre can be just a soft yellow, and I'll leave that, and then I've picked out two jugs just because I want one for the lighting. You can see even that is running a bit. So you might, if you're working on your guest, you could have it flat, then maybe angle it a little bit if you need to. And then this colour is a mixture of a bit of magenta and a little bit of this, I think it's carmine. So I'm just going to work this in just the areas where I want that to go. So I'm just going to keep it fairly line. Just work that quite quickly. This bit here has already started to dry, so it's actually quite warm in here. So the idea is to be able to work into areas that are slightly wet. So yeah, quick working. Any areas that I want to lift out, I'll just dry my brush and just lift out a little bit of paint. So it's just keeping that. But ideally, if I can just not get the paint where I don't want it in the first place, that would work out. So I'm just lifting little bits out, and there's a few bits. Hello. Hiya. Little bits on the edges. So just these edges here, just going to kind of lift that with a driest brush. And then I think it's got to a point where it's just starting to dry now, so I'll leave it at that. What I would end up with is something. This was one I did. So that was the demo. That didn't go great. That was the second one I did in the morning, just a little bit later. So once it's at that stage, I can then add a little bit more definition. So I just have a slightly smaller brush, and just go back in with the same colours. So some of these areas I want sharper edges, and some I want soft edges. So I want maybe this bit to stay light on that edge but darker on that edge. So it's just a tiny bit of water, almost like just sort of rehydrate that bit, and then got a little bit more colour in there. So that should, that's a bit too much, just soften that out a little bit. And then I could do another bit, maybe this bit here. So again, maybe just try putting the colour on like that, and then before that dries too quickly, just soften that edge out a little bit. And actually this edge here is quite a bit of shadow too. So that can have a stronger bit of colour in there. And then just soften that. So it's a way of getting a nice sort of gradual blend. And then I'll basically keep that going sort of somewhere here and just dampen this bit a little bit. And we've got a few little folds in there. So just try and pop those in, something like that, and just leave soften that there a little bit. So it's a matter of then just sort of kind of gradually going around and building it. The centre is a warmish, yellowy, kind of yellowy brown. So maybe I'll add a little bit of blue with that's that blue. That's got a bit green, so a little bit of red. And that makes that a little bit browner. And then hopefully I can then just put some of that around there. And it's certainly a lot easier to control if it's, you know, if you haven't got it too vertical. And then just pull some of those out. Some of these are a little bit yellower, so I'll make a lighter tone as well of that. So just a nice brush that will come to the point. Not too much paint on the brush. A little bit of shadow just in there, just soften that a tiny bit. And then I'll just go a little bit darker with the dots on the end. Almost a bit too pointy this brush. A few extras. So that would be, you know, basically sort of keep going with the folds. And then the background, that's again quite tricky. Perhaps I'll just dampen the area where I want to work. And I think I'd try and do this in sections. It'd be quite hard to sort of paint around the whole thing all in one hit. So I've got some green here and a little bit of purple as well. Just so it's not too bright and intense green, it sort of greys it down. But as soon as you get that sort of darker background colour, it should start to throw these out as a lighter. Highlights the pinks a bit more. So it really needs a bit of contrast in there. And it might be worth having a big brush as well for bigger areas, keeping some areas sort of stronger sort of pigment so that can be a little bit varied. Is that enough?
Do we have to paint upside down as well?
No, that's the easier painting upside down than it was an easel. I'm using watercolour paper. This is the stuff that I buy from the wholesaler. So it's like a medium texture, what they call knot. So it's not very smooth, not very rough. Yeah. You can't fit out with paint.